political commentator Jade Azim. So very good morning to both of you. Lovely to see you both. So, can you guess what's on the front pages? Andy Burnham is pretty much a clean sweep, isn't it? After he took over as Labour leader yesterday, of course, he'll become Prime Minister on Monday. But he made that first speech. So how much did we get our teeth into in that speech? How much did we learn, Jade? And how's The Guardian treating it?
Yes, of course. So The Guardian leads with, he talked about beating the new right, as he called it, sort of this insurgent force, by implication is reform. And this speech was primarily about vibes. People have been sort of attacking him because of the, it feels vibes, where's the policy detail? We know that's likely to come, but this was about sort of presenting a very positive vision for the country and giving the party as well a bit of morale boost after two quite tumultuous years. I think watching that speech back, I was quite taken aback by both the humanity of it. He presents himself as quite a charismatic figure, which is in stark contrast to Starmer, to be frank. But also the fact that if you compare it to the first couple of days even of the Starmer administration, where it was about doom and gloom, it was about we have to release these prisoners, we have to confront this fiscal hole. This was a very positive vision, and I think that's what his team are really trying to get, lay the foundations. Actually, there is a new hope. Whether that comes to pass, of course, is to be seen, but that was the point of this speech.
Exactly, and the word hope did feature quite strongly, didn't it? And I guess, the party will perhaps feel buoyed about a kind of what they might see as a positive new start, but I guess that the realities will kick in once he actually takes over the job.
Well, exactly. This is the final speech, the final opportunity for Andy Burnham to really lean into vibes, lean into the fact that he is a much more charismatic politician than his predecessor. Now, he tried to insist yesterday that he does have a plan, and yet failed once again to really set out what that plan involves, what it entails. But he's got until Monday afternoon now. That is when every move that he makes, every decision that he makes will be viewed as part of the wider Burnham agenda. He will begin to put some meat on the bones of his programme for government from next week. And that's when we're going to really see whether what he said yesterday was a pitch to the country, was a hint of what's to come, or rather whether his audience was in fact the Labour Party. And that's why he wanted to send such a strong message of unity. Andy Burnham knows that there are jitters, perhaps more jitters than he might care to admit, across the Parliamentary Labour Party. He knows that it's a divided party and that he is going to struggle to unify it. There are many different factions. They all want different things, which is why there has been so much discussion over who is going to be in his cabinet.
Well, yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Why he's been so reticent to set out what his agenda is actually going to look like.
And he picks out, the paper rather picks out in one of their subheadings there, the fact that he wants to unify the party. And just as Annabelle was saying, the response to the different prospective candidates for Chancellor has been huge from either side of the party. Briefings against Shabana Mahmood from the left and briefings against Ed Miliband from the right of the party.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got quite a task, and he will be sending out quite a message with his choices, won't he?
I mean, I've sort of been following the party for quite some time. If you think about what he's done, right, over almost 80% of the Parliamentary Labour Party, all affiliates, all unions. Like, this is unprecedented in the history of the Labour Party, what he's done. And we were just discussing, it's utterly surreal what he's come over to get here.
At such speed.
At such speed and such efficiency. But yeah, you're right. Look, the next few days will determine if he can keep up that goodwill. What happens in number 11 and what he does with the Chancellorship will determine what comes next.
It's a real clear sense of direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's a choice of, you've got to, we were just discussing, calm the markets, but also calm the party. It's a very difficult balancing act, for sure.
Well, yes, which obviously Keir Starmer found tricky as well. Let's move on to the Express, shall we, Annabelle, because they are... He admitted that things hadn't been great for the last 40 years, and that includes quite a lot of Labour administration as
Yes.
well, doesn't it? And he did say this is Labour's last chance, and obviously the Express picking up on that.
Well, very interestingly, it was a repudiation of the Blair years, in a way, from 97 until 2010. Well,
Although he singled out
if you
Thatcher as well, didn't
he?
he?
Did, of course, yes. He's sort of consistently rejected Thatcherism, what he describes as neoliberalism, which has allowed many communities to be left behind. But nevertheless, if you're talking about failures of the last 40 years, well, 13 of those, Tony Blair and Gordon Brown were our prime ministers. Andy Burnham served in those cabinets, having been elected an MP in 2001. But it's nevertheless very much a rejection of that style of politics. Now, what the Express has picked up on and what Burnham tried to stress yesterday was this is Labour's last chance. Now, an interesting thing happened yesterday where there was a poll out that showed Labour were neck and neck on 24% with Reform. Now, if you looked at what actually happened, the Greens were down to 11%. So the suggestion is that some of those voters perhaps are on loan to Andy Burnham. The Green Party seem to have a new spring in their step because they are coming out and saying, well, Andy Burnham's only going to give you the semi-skim version of left-wing economics. We're going to go full fat on things like rent controls and a wealth tax. So let's see if they're able to claw back the Greens, some of those voters who perhaps are thinking, well, you know, maybe Burnham is going to deliver in a way that Keir Starmer couldn't. Nevertheless, the wider context here is the fragmentation of British politics that we've experienced over the last few years. We now live in a multi-party system. The two main parties are splintering, and it's going to be very interesting to see if Andy Burnham is going to deliver on his promise of holding together some sort of Labour coalition that will enable him to win the next general election.
Yeah, so many questions. But we talked there about sort of all the fracturing and the splintering. But if we turn to the Telegraph, Jade, this is an area that he says is a priority, social care, where he wants to bring people together and try and bring some sort of political consensus, not just in his own party, but across party.
Yeah, so social care is one of those cross-party issues. You know, it takes up a significant chunk of most local government budgets. And if you're going to talk about radical change, you have to confront it. Both parties have talked about it at quite some length. This story is about potentially Angela Rayner coming to the fore as Health Secretary. And social care is one of those things.
Which is interesting. I hadn't heard that before.
No, it's actually quite new. She's also, you know, I mean, there's a lot of speculation about cabinet, right? She's also being pitched as going back to MHCLG. Housing, yeah. But this is quite interesting because actually social care is one of her massive passion projects, and she has talked about it for quite some time. And he has talked about it as well. It's going to be one of the core pillars. The others being things like water and transport and things like that. But social care, if you're going to talk about you know, spending on housing, spending on council housing, you have to confront social care.
Well, yeah, and he talked in Gravesend, I think, last night about how his own father has Alzheimer's and how he really understood the challenges of the social care system. And he has been talking about this since, I think, 2009, I think. He made a speech about it. So it obviously is something close to his heart. But this is an issue that has defeated many previous leaders. We've seen, you know, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, plenty of others saying they were going to tackle it and failing. So do you think he'll have more success?
I think he could have some success if he's really willing to grasp the nettle. Social care in this country is a complete mess, and we need a fundamental rethink of how the system operates, and it's going to cost a lot of money. And my view is that it's going to require that people take more responsibility insofar as they are financially able of their own social care as they reach the later stages of life. So it's not only going to be costly, it's not only going to be politically very difficult, but I suspect it's going to be quite unpopular, perhaps some of the changes that are required with the public. Now, you know, the question is whether Angela Rayner is the right person to drive that forward. I don't think that she could conceivably have returned to the Communities and Local Government brief, given that she was the Housing Secretary who was embroiled in a housing scandal. I think the optics of that would have been very difficult for her. And Andy Burnham was inevitably going to bring her back into the fold. She's a figure who's very popular with the trade unions on the left of the party, but still quite a sort of traditional Labour figure. So, you know, let's hope that she's able to deliver.
If she does get the job.
If she does get the job. But let's not forget that she's also got the NHS to grapple with. Now, Wes Streeting brought in some quite positive changes. We did see waiting lists beginning to come down, but nevertheless, there's a huge amount of work still to be done.
And there had been talk that Wes Streeting might go back to health. I mean, none of this is set in stone, is it?
No, not at all, no. And from what I'd heard as of Friday, you know, when he says that, you know, that the cabinet's under wraps, it genuinely is. So we don't yet know.
No, exactly. Or they've certainly kept it very quiet if they have made all the decisions. Let's take a look, Annabelle, at... this is the double-page spread in The Times. You've picked out the article that focuses on Andy Burnham saying he didn't bring down Keir Starmer.
No, so at the beginning of his speech, he paid his dues, the sort of requisite homage to Keir Starmer for all that he achieved. And to be fair to Starmer, he was able to wrestle back the Labour Party from the Corbynites and make it electable again. And he did win that loveless landslide back in 2024. But what Andy Burnham was also keen to stress was that he's no traitor. You know, he wasn't treacherously trying to engineer Keir Starmer's downfall. Now, the problem is about a week ago, Lou Haig, the former Transport Secretary, very close ally of Andy Burnham, who's been working behind the scenes to get him to this position, told Nick Robinson that this has been a year in the making, Burnham entering number 10, which makes it look like he has been plotting to defenestrate Keir Starmer for some time. It does make him look like that betrayal was always front and centre of his mind. And we know that for 25 years, Andy Burnham has wanted to be Prime Minister. He tried to be Labour leader twice before. Now he's had this coronation. Now he's able to enter number 10. And I suspect that this is as much for the public as it is for his backbenchers, or soon-to-be backbenchers, because the moment that he begins to try and do unpopular things, there's a real risk that they're going to quickly turn against him, just as they did Keir Starmer, and that the idea it's all his fault that they're in the current predicament that they're in, that he was the one who brought down Keir Starmer, that perhaps things weren't so bad under Keir Starmer, at least he did get those 411 seats, will perhaps come back to bite. Maybe he's mitigating against it.
And he will be conscious of that there will be supporters of Keir Starmer in the party who feel a bit bitter about what's happened. So he's obviously trying to reach out to them. But what do you make of this? I mean, do you think it's fair to say that the Lou Haig admission of a year of planning implies that he was always out to stab Keir Starmer in the back?
Look, I mean, the party's been going through turmoil for more than over a year. You know, there are a lot of difficult, now fatal errors done very, very quickly. Just, you know, the first recess that came after the general election, you know, the polls dipped quite significantly, almost immediately, right? So the idea that, like, you know, there was some sort of coup in the making, there was discontent in the party and sort of like a scramble. Oh my gosh, what if we lose our seats and all of that? So like, there was always going to be speculation about what came next. If you recall the party conference of last year, when, you know, there was all the speculation about Burnham, there's also speculation about Rayner and Wes. You know, a lot of these camps saw the polls and saw what was happening, and there was a lot of appeal in the Parliamentary Labour Party for someone to take action. So, you know, there were other camps that were doing the same. This has been running for quite a while, and a part of it is because Starmer was really, really struggling in number 10.
I'm just going to whiz us on to the front page of the Eye, because we've only got about a minute left. But just they are reflecting on cabinet choices. What are your thoughts, both of you, about what the key posts to look out for and the overall balance?
Well, I suspect that when you look at the next cabinet table when it convenes, the same faces will be sitting around it, but perhaps in different positions. And that's going to be really interesting, because there will be a sense that whilst Andy Burnham is promising change, and he knows how important it is to send a message that things are going to be different this time, it will look quite a lot like a continuity cabinet. But nevertheless, there has been a lot of speculation, as you say, principally around who is going to be in number 11. For some time, it looked like it would be Ed Miliband, But ultimately, my feeling is the concerns over the impact on the markets and how jittery investors would feel ruled him out. So it looks like it will be Shabana Mahmood. But that, that is going to be, personnel is going to be a very strong indication of the direction of travel.
Yeah, Monday's going to be a fascinating day, isn't it?
It is indeed. Very busy.
Yeah, we are out of time, but I'm delighted to say you'll be back for the next couple of hours as well. So we'll revisit some of these issues and some new ones soon.
Cheers. Thank you.
Jubilation in the streets, while some